250,000 Germans took to the streets, hundreds of thousands marching in Berlin alone. You won't believe what just happened to German democracy. I'm Andrew Friedrich, former analyst for state-run media who chose truth over obedience, now independent, bringing you the real story from Europe. Friedrich Merz, Germany's likely next chancellor, just shattered a sacred rule. He passed migration laws with support from the far-right Alternative for Germany party. For the first time since World War II, mainstream conservatives worked with extremists. The political earthquake is splitting Europe apart. But wait, there's more. While Germans burn their democratic traditions, Trump is burning down transatlantic relations. From his secret calls with Putin to trade wars with allies, America's president is reshaping Europe, whether Europeans like it or not. Hit that subscribe button right now. Because these aren't separate stories, they're connected threads in a crisis that could change everything. Share this video, comment below, tell me what you think. And if you want to support independent journalism that doesn't bow to power, consider becoming a sponsor. Because tomorrow, the news could change everything. The German crisis started with tragedy. An Afghan asylum seeker attacked children in Aschaffenburg, resulting in the loss of life of a 2-year-old boy and a man who tried to protect them. Tragic. Senseless, the kind of incident that politicians use to justify anything. Friedrich Merz saw his chance. The CDU leader, frontrunner for chancellor, proposed harsh migration rules, border closures, mass deportations, complete rejection of asylum seekers at German borders. But here's the twist. His own party couldn't pass it alone. So he made a deal with devils. The AfD, Germany's far-right party, gave him the votes. 348 to 345, the motion passed. You won't believe this. For the first time since the Nazi era, a mainstream party needed extremist votes to govern. Angela Merkel's party, once the stable center of European politics, now partnering with extremists. The vote split Germany's political establishment. The SPD and Greens called Merz unfit to govern. The Free Democrats joined the far-right coalition, abandoning their liberal principles for political survival. Opposition politicians accused him of betraying 75 years of democratic tradition. Merz defended it, saying, "A correct decision doesn't lose its validity just because the wrong people support it. And now listen carefully, that's exactly how democracies die, one compromise at a time." The man who wants to be chancellor just normalized collaboration with extremists who use Nazi slogans and downplay historical atrocities. The German people saw through this immediately. Over 200,000 protesters flooded the streets nationwide. 160,000 in Berlin alone, lighting up their phones like stars against the darkness. They carried banners reading, "We are the firewall and no cooperation with AfD." Critics called it breaking Germany's post-Nazi promise. Never again would democratic parties work with far-right extremists, but Merz shattered that sacred firewall for electoral advantage. He's gambling with German democracy to outflank the AfD at their own game. Here's where it gets even worse. The Catholic and Protestant churches wrote to Parliament, warning that cooperating with extremists damages democracy itself. When churches unite to speak politics in Germany, you know the stakes are existential. They called it morally reprehensible and dangerous to social cohesion. Protesters blocked CDU offices in multiple cities. Hamburg, Munich, Cologne, Leipzig saw massive demonstrations. Even boats on the Rhine carried anti-racism banners. One protester told reporters she was joining politics for the first time because we can no longer avert our gaze. It's too serious. You see the pattern, right? Mainstream politicians think they can use extremists and stay clean. But extremism spreads like a virus. It contaminates everything it touches. Merz calculated he could look tough on migration and steal AfD voters. Instead, he legitimized fascism and proved extremists were right all along about mainstream weakness. The February 23rd election is weeks away. Polls show CDU leading with 30%, AfD second with 20%. Merz needs coalition partners but just poisoned relations with everyone except fascists. What brilliant strategy is that? If you're still with me, hit that like button. It tells me you want the truth, not just the headlines. But if you think this is bad, wait until you hear what's happening across the Atlantic with Trump's war on Europe. While Germany burns its democratic norms, Trump launched his economic blitzkrieg against Europe. 10% tariffs on all countries, 15% on EU goods including cars, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors. This isn't trade policy, It's economic warfare against America's own allies. The timing was calculated cruelty. European economies are already struggling with inflation and stagnation. Germany's auto sector, backbone of its economy, faces devastation from 25% car tariffs. Trump knows this will crush European competitors while boosting American manufacturers. But the real shock came when Trump called Putin directly. 90 minutes on the phone with the Russian dictator. No European allies consulted. He announced immediate peace negotiations for Ukraine, potentially in Saudi Arabia. Europe found out through Twitter. Just imagine that for a second. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas captured European bewilderment perfectly. We don't even have enough contacts with the United States as we see that they are having with the Russians. Let me repeat that. America talks more to its enemies than its friends. A planned meeting between Kallas and Secretary of State Rubio was abruptly cancelled due to mysterious scheduling issues. Trump declared a national emergency to justify these tariffs using wartime powers. He claimed foreign trade practices threaten American security. The same president who cozy up to dictators now treats Democratic allies as national security threats. You won't believe this, but Trump genuinely thinks Europe formed the EU to screw the United States. Goldman Sachs projects Trump's tariffs could shave 1% off European GDP. Germany gets hit hardest with 1.1% economic contraction. The UK loses 0.7%, Spain 0.6%. Millions of European jobs vanish to satisfy Trump's ego and protectionist fantasy. European leaders are in panic mode. Emergency meetings in Paris, desperate attempts at damage control. Macron gathered leaders from Germany, Denmark, Poland, Italy, Spain, and Netherlands. They're realizing America is no longer a reliable partner. The shock runs deeper than economics. It's existential. Trump's February humiliation of Zelensky sent tremors across Europe. The moment European leaders realized they couldn't count on American protection anymore. For 75 years, NATO's Article 5 guaranteed European security. Now that guarantee looks worthless as Trump prioritizes Putin over allies. Here's where it gets absolutely insane. Trump's administration imposed sanctions on the International Criminal Court for investigating Israeli alleged war crimes. This gave Viktor Orban cover to withdraw Hungary from the ICC, undermining EU legal authority from within. Trump isn't just abandoning allies, he's actively sabotaging European institutions. The math is brutal. Europe might need to spend an extra 250 billion euros on defense and recruit 300,000 additional soldiers. Just imagine that for a second. Entire generations of Europeans who never worried about war now face military conscription. French President Macron promised this wouldn't require new taxes, just reforms, choices, and courage. Courage doesn't pay bills, Emmanuel. American officials tried walking back Trump's statements, claiming the US might still help with Ukrainian security guarantees. Europeans aren't buying it. The damage is permanent. Even Trump's allies like John Bolton advise foreign leaders to learn how to play golf if they want Trump's attention. Trump even claimed the European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. What do you think? Comment below. Is this the end of the Western alliance as we know it? Vice President J.D. Vance scolded Europeans for not listening to far-right groups like Germany's AfD. The same party using Nazi slogans gets American government endorsement. The irony is suffocating. Hit that subscribe button and share this with everyone who needs to understand what's really happening. Here's what nobody's telling you. These aren't separate crises, they're symptoms of the same disease. Democratic institutions failing under pressure from extremists and authoritarians. In Germany, mainstream politics legitimizes fascists to win elections. In America, an authoritarian president abandons democratic allies for dictators. Both countries are choosing short-term power over long-term principles. As one expert put it, Trump has fundamentally undermined European confidence in US commitment to NATO and the principle of mutual defense. The post-war order is collapsing in real time. Europe must now choose between American abandonment and Russian aggression. But here's the thing, crises create opportunities. Maybe Europe needed this shock to find its own strength. Maybe Germany needed this wake-up call about democratic fragility. The question isn't whether the old world is ending, it's what comes next. Stay informed, stay alert. Stay engaged. Hit that notification bell because the news cycle is accelerating and you need reliable analysis to make sense of the chaos. Consider supporting this channel financially if you value independent journalism that connects the dots others miss. The mainstream media won't tell you these stories because they're too busy being polite to power. What matters now is that you understand the stakes and share this knowledge. Democracy doesn't defend itself.